the 13 American colonies emerge united in open revolt against the Crown. They have chosen George Washington as their commander-in-chief, asking him to defend their cities and towns against the greatest military power on earth. But Washington has an amateur army and no navy, while Britannia rules the waves. In Boston, birthplace of the rebellion, patriots watch helplessly as British ships blockade the harbor and General William Howe takes control of the city. Howe has such contempt for the American army, he does not bother occupying the strategic high ground south of the city. Instead, his army tears up houses, barns, and even demolishes the Old North Church for firewood, while his officers seize the finest mansions for drinking, dancing, and entertaining. Howe's behavior infuriates George Washington, who once served in the British Army and knows well the English sense of superiority. Washington decides to turn that arrogance to his own advantage. Using captured British cannon, he sets in motion an elaborate plan. And on the night of March 4th, under a full moon, Washington opens fire on British positions. British guns fire back in anger. But the American barrage is merely a diversion. Across the harbor, a large rebel force is sneaking onto the high ground at Dorchester Heights, hauling dozens of cannons and heavy supply wagons. Washington's army labors furiously, while artillery officer Henry Knox keeps the British distracted with an all-night barrage. By early morning, the guns fall silent, and Boston finally goes to sleep. Washington and his ragtag army wait quietly for the mighty British to discover their predicament. At sunrise, Howe's lookouts survey the horizon. Their telescopes reveal an astonishing sight. The Americans have built a fort literally overnight. Earthworks are in place atop Dorchester Heights, and siege guns frown down on the harbor, threatening the British fleet. A stunned General Howe realizes he has been outmaneuvered. Washington savors his position from the high ground, where he now commands the harbor. He as much as dares the British to dislodge him. General Howe declines. When a ferocious winter storm churns up the harbor, Howe scraps his counterattack plans and decides to abandon Boston altogether. Washington attributes his victory to divine providence. General Washington has vanquished the British. He becomes an American hero, inspiring members of Congress to commission a medal and fortifying their resolve to draft and sign the Declaration of Independence. Before the ink is even dry, however, the colonies suffer the largest invasion ever mounted by the Crown. The British have never lost a war. They are not about to lose America. 300 ships sail into New York Harbor. 30,000 troops, more than the population of our largest city. "We shall give these scoundrels a hearty thrashing," a British officer promises, "and put an end to this business." Washington's raw troops fight valiantly, but they are no match for British regulars, who flog the rebels in Brooklyn, Manhattan, White Plains, Fort Washington, and Fort Lee. Demoralized Americans are chased for months on end. British General Cornwallis hounds Washington across New Jersey and into Pennsylvania, before finally turning back to New York and winter quarters. He assumes Washington is beaten, and come the spring thaw, the rebellion will have melted away. Many Americans share this pessimism. Even veteran troops plan to head home when their enlistments expire on January 1st. These are the times that try men's souls, writes Tom Paine. Washington desperately needs a victory. He decides to attack Trenton. The British have left behind only a handful of German mercenaries, the Hessians, to guard the town. Dire necessity will justify our gamble, Washington tells his officers. We will cross the Delaware at night, I to the north with Greene and Sullivan. Ewing will cross at Trenton Ferry, and Cadwalader to the south to surround the Hessians. Knox will provide artillery. We'll place the guns here at the top of town and command the streets. But the Hessians are fierce professional soldiers, hated and feared in equal measure. Washington knows he must take them by surprise. He chooses Christmas Day for the crossing. His password, victory or death. They could not have picked a worse day. The temperature plummets. The Delaware is choked with ice. Sleet and snow made loading cannon and horses nearly impossible. The crossing becomes a physical ordeal in the extreme. In the boats, the men are mostly silent. Thoughts turn to home, and to the deadly Hessian bayonets awaiting them in Trenton. Still, they are prepared to sacrifice everything, because their commander has shown the same courage and perseverance. Washington stands beside his men. His belief never wavers. His stamina is awe-inspiring. The crossing has put them hours behind schedule, and they still face a 9-mile march over frozen mud. Some men have only rags for shoes and leave a trail of blood in the snow. Meanwhile, Ewing and Cadwalader have failed to cross the river. Washington's army marches alone. 6 a.m. As the army divides in two, Washington and his officers synchronize their watches. 7:30. The cover of darkness is now lost. But by 8 a.m., Washington's gamble pays off. Foul weather has driven Hessian sentries indoors, and the streets of Trenton are empty. American guns roll into position, aiming down King and Queen Streets. Stunned Hessians cannot organize a coherent defense. Sullivan's guns to the west, and perhaps the sound of Ewing's guns on the far side of the river convince the Hessians there is no escape. After 45 minutes, they surrender in an orchard south of town. The Americans have killed or captured over 900 Hessians, and Washington teaches his enemies and the world a lesson in humanity by forbidding his soldiers to punish their prisoners. Within the week, Cornwallis is summoned from New York, but Washington eludes him once again and thrashes his rear guard at Princeton. In 10 crucial days, Washington has humiliated the British and electrified the colonies. It is a turning point. Liberty, a lost cause only weeks before, is now seen as the rightful destiny of America. Washington proves himself a world-class general, controlling the tempo of war, deciding when and where to fight. When not leading troops in battle, he writes hundreds of letters, raising money, supplies, and more recruits. Washington builds a professional army. He stays with his men at Valley Forge, inspiring them, keeping them alive and in the field for 5 long years. But by 1781, American support for the war reaches a new low. King George himself predicts the colonies will beg for peace by summer. Washington faces a critical choice. Shall he strike British headquarters in New York, or pursue the army now terrorizing his southern colonies? Washington makes his boldest decision of the war, sending a small decoy force toward New York as though preparing to attack. Meanwhile, he quietly turns his main army to the south. Washington stops at Mount Vernon, his only visit home during the entire war, to plan a massive operation. He summons his best men to southern Virginia, where they will join French Admiral de Grasse, who is sailing up from the Caribbean to lend his fleet. The alliance with France allows Washington to spring a deadly trap. Their prey is Washington's old foe, Cornwallis, whose army is dug in at Yorktown, awaiting reinforcements. Those reinforcements will never arrive, because the French fleet will blockade the entire Chesapeake Bay, leaving Cornwallis no escape. The Allies now begin a classic siege. Like a giant chess game, position and strength are key. The British have nowhere to go and few supplies. The Allies have plenty of everything, especially artillery. General Washington himself fires the ceremonial first shot, and the game is on. The Allies dig long trenches, creating siege lines that creep toward the British fort. Heavy cannon and mortars are rolled into position. The siege lines follow a zigzag pattern so the British cannot fire along their length. The Allied barrage continues around the clock for 8 days, pummeling the British. Still, Cornwallis holds out. His last 2 outposts must be taken by hand. Allied guns are now firing at point-blank range. The British are being slaughtered. Finally, on October 17th, Cornwallis sends up a white flag. 8,000 British soldiers march a mile to the field of surrender as the Americans look on. Cornwallis's defeat at the hands of the rebels is an international disgrace. In London, Prime Minister Lord North cries, "Oh God, it is all over." Against all odds, General Washington and his citizen army have outfought the British Empire. Washington is at his peak, but has no desire to exploit his power. The supreme man of action has his eye on a larger goal. And when the treaty is signed in 1783, his final act as general is his most important. He hands the reins back to Congress, assuring a government under civilian control by and for the people. More than his own glory, Washington believes in the Declaration, not as a piece of parchment, but as the promise of a new nation.
Courtney, what are you trying to do? Okay, about a half an hour if I had that or be there.
Yeah.
Right. Beautiful side, isn't it?
Did you hear the part where they talked about the expensive green paint?
No.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the kids are all out there taking photos. We lost our son.
Guys, come on.
Guys, got the bushes.
That was awesome!
Fight me back. Memorial to the last owners of Mount Vernon, George Washington's nephew. Inside, and there were a lot of people in chairs.
So it was open. It was open to the public then.
Kind of, yeah.
Or invited public, I guess.
Well, it was free day.
Sure.
It was
Because of his birthday.
So yeah.
Yeah.
Usually get a big crowd, but they wouldn't let him in the house. The security was very tight. You had to go through a metal detector, you know, everybody.
Yeah.
Now, I didn't say anything on the bus about Roosevelt being disabled. I didn't say anything for a reason. When this memorial opened, what you see right here was not here. There was no reference at all in this memorial to Roosevelt's disability. Does anybody know what his disability is?
Polio.
Yes, he had polio as a young man and he was crippled. He was in a wheelchair. He was never pictured in a wheelchair back then. No photographs of him in a wheelchair. The photographers were very, very kind to him. When he was going to go make a speech somewhere, they would wheel him up in his wheelchair. His handlers would help him up, get him up. Now let's kind of stay together as we go through here, because I want to bring you back a different way than what we came in.
Jesse, he's my friend. Jesse, you know they're videotaping us. Whoa!
This is all caught on camera.
No! Get this! Whoa! Anybody else?
That's kind of weird.
I'll sit on that.
I'll put my hand on his hand. Like,
most famous saying, the only thing we have to fear is fear itself.
That's not what he said.
Yeah, so I forgot. No.
Oh, he is. Oh, that's what I said.
Yeah. Will be a fountain. The water shut off to all the fountains.
I would like a pony.
That's not Santa Claus, Kelby.
Take the picture. You need a hat like this. Oh yeah, hey. I'm singing.
I went to him last time. Well, I got in front of him and I couldn't see him.
It's my only lunch. It's gonna be my only food. Someone take that picture.
Hey, someone take this picture.
Someone take this picture.
Back up, watch out.
Me in 50 years, everybody. Me in 50 years.
I think that happened when you were about it.
It's good to have goals, Brett. Hey, guys, I want to take this picture. Gabe, hold on. I want to get this in the camera here.
Oh, I thought you said me.
Hey, that guy's old.
I said that about no one else.
Together.
I can't say it.
That's why.
You've had too much sip.
What, was I in your way?
A little bit. Gotcha. There we go.
Oh, and the classes are okay.
Now you guys know how I feel.
Hey, you're not supposed to smile.
Oh, I smiled too.
I'm looking up front.
Great move.
Got it.
Sorry. I'm depressed now.
Oh, that's a good one.
Get it?
Yep. Are we done?
You notice what it says carved up there above?
Fountain Kai neighbor asked for chaperone pictures. I don't think this is one I'll give him.
We will. I'm just kidding.
Well, I'm the only one wearing a leather jacket. Get my hat back.
When Gabe Downs.
To get us out of the Depression is something that's written about up here.
Sorry.
I propose to create a Civilian Conservation Corps. The CCC it was referred to, and they built all kinds of state parks, pavilions in state parks. They built bridges, roads. They did all of that kind of stuff, more or less just to give them work so that they had a reason to give them money. again, it was not a free handout. They had to do something.
Okay. Okay. So that's pretty cool. But I just kind of wanted to check everything I wanted to ask you because I don't know what to say.
Now entering his third term.
I know you did that.
How many terms did you serve?
Third term. Yeah. Ah, on the rock, isn't it? Says the same thing.
Which one was he talking to?
That's about as big as my hand.
Yeah, pretty much, Jarrett. Anyone else want to get up there?
I'll do it again.
No, I got you. I got you twice.
That's funny.
I think he likes that.
How does that sound?
See, I'll give anybody.
Oh, this is my second one so far. Oh, Grandma! Grandma! Oh, I love you, Grandma.
Wait, don't move. We can't give him one later.
Hey,
Jake, don't move.
put it in your hair. Like right
Yeah, right there.
Hey, Lou!
Hey.
I'm taking a picture.
I love my grandma.
Dang it. That's too bad. Yeah. If you want one then with all of you up there, I can do that for you.
Hurry. Wait, just stand there grinning. Get in the picture.
My smile. 1, 2, 3. Don't move.
Kid in the white sweatshirt looks like he's scared to death. I'm gonna fall.
Don't push him off.
1, 2.
I need
like it the whole time. He doesn't ever change. Just look at it. I know mine.
Toenails and clean them out with bleach and stuff.
Careful, we don't want you to sprain your ankle before you cut a rug.
Hey, Isaac, here's your favorite equation.
On here, Isaac. 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 Here you go. On. Careful. Come on. I'm really cold.
Hey, let's get all the chaperones.
Just 3 inches. Because I live on it.
Hi, Albert. Hey, do you see the EM equals C squared? Is that your own personal camera?
Yeah, yeah.
Cool.
I haven't got Tom on the video yet. Tom, how we doing?
I feel smarter. I don't know about you.
Trying to burn some battery here.
I'll bring him a hot drink.
He would appreciate it. He looks a little chilly.
His legs are getting a little stiff. He's been sitting there quite a while.
Notice he's in kind of a relaxed position.
He's getting a little fat, too.
Yeah.
That's why you sit down and eat all the time. Most people.
Why are you beeping?
Alex, he's a hand.
It's because I'm eating and you're in my face.
FBI.
That's right.
Oh, this is the worst thing he can get me on camera doing. I think I'm okay.
Yeah.
At least you're not holding the flashlight going.
That's true. That's
Angie.
hideous and it would break the camera.
Tony and Cindy and Candy and Lisa are up here. Hello, hello.
FBI day.
Yeah, an FBI day. Oh!
So, say
Up
for
here's
instance,
Bob and Jenny. What's that?
actually, yeah, you're all
Right eye contact. Isn't it? Is it ripped? You didn't bring any extras? Bring glasses? Got contact.
So you either have your
Washington was first buried, but his wishes were for when Martha passed away, for him and Martha to be buried together. So, as you saw yesterday when you were out at Mount Vernon, the tombs of Mr. and Mrs. Washington. But the White Star is the center of the Capitol building, and it's also the center of Washington, D.C. You can notice how the cities divide up in quadrants, like northwest, northeast, southeast, southwest. The dividing lines for those quadrants run right through that point. And actually, Indianapolis was kind of supposed to be laid out on the same grid scale. Ella Fond was the architect of the Capitol and the designer of the Monument Circle was kind of supposed to be the same layout with the quadrants going through it and having the same like cross-section grid plan. But it didn't quite pan out to DC scale, but it's dome-shaped venue like the Capitol. That's where we're seeing it. It's 187 feet tall, so the Statue of Liberty can fit in here. The painting on the top is a fresco painting painted by Constantino Bermuti. The name of it is The Apocalypse of George Washington. George Washington is in the center circle with like a purple cloak over his lap and a sword in his left hand. The angel on his left is the angel of freedom, and the angel on his right is the angel of liberty. And then there's 13 additional angels in that circle representing the 13 original colonies. And not until the 1980s when this was cleaned, I think it was like 82 when it was cleaned. Did you see the rainbow?
Yes.
That wasn't dissolved and everything. It had been The second painting that goes around the rotunda is a frieze. It's a two-dimensional painting, although it looks like a three-dimensional piece of artwork. And it kind of tells the story of American history. It starts here with Columbus setting foot on American soil, and it goes all the way around and events a sequence to the Wright brothers and the invention of flight. Constantino started the painting, and he painted from Columbus all the way around to you see an Indian with a tomahawk. And at this time, he was up on scaffolding, and he was 82 years old, and he fell. But his pant leg got caught on the scaffolding and was dangling there. Well, the myth is 15 hours, but it was only 15 minutes. And he was rescued and put on the ground safely. But he decided to call it quits and not do that anymore. So they had a second artist who took over. And he painted from the Indian with a tomahawk to the two rows of soldiers. And if you look at that part of the frieze, it's more condensed than the rest of it. And that reason is because he had other ideas or depictions that he wanted to paint into the frieze. But the advisors to the Capitol were like, just keep what our original plan, don't add anything new. Well, he didn't like that idea. So behind the two rows of soldiers, you see a tree. And at the bottom right hand of the tree, there's a fern plant. Right above that is his face. He painted his face into the Capitol. Well, the advisors weren't happy with that one either. I forget the three. We can go over there in a little bit. But the unformed in the back, unformed rock, is supposed to be saved for the first woman president. So that might be sooner than we know. But if you look on the outside of the rotunda, there's a statue on the top of the rotunda, and that's Lady Freedom. And she always faces east from the courthouse, and it's called the Green Room, and you can go there today. But if you would go into that room, you would say, well, this is the same room in the picture, there's no balcony. The artist was like, well, wherever George is has to be Martha, so he painted a fictitious balcony and stuck Martha up there with her nieces. But women would not be present, would not be able to be present in the room at this time with that business taking place. But on this side of the rotunda are post-Revolutionary War paintings, with DeSoto discovering the Mississippi, Columbus setting foot on American soil, the Journey of the Pilgrims, and the baptism of Paul and the Hunters.
There it is.
Okay, this is one of Indiana's statues. Wallace. You see author Ben-Hur from Crawfordsville, Indiana. The other statue is Oliver Morton, and he's on the Senate side where we're not allowed to take people. But Oliver Morton was the first territorial and state governor for Indiana. But this used to be this is the old house floor until they built the new house floor in 1856. And at the time when this was the house floor, the congressman's desk sat right on the floor, and they didn't have any officers or staff working for them at the time. So if you had a problem and you wanted to talk to your congressman, you had to travel to Washington, D.C., and you'd walk right up to his desk and talk to him one-on-one and say, hey, you know, we need to clean up the rivers or something back in our district. But if you see, there's a bronze plaque, and that's where Abraham Lincoln's desk sat when he was a congressman. He was young when he was elected to Congress, and they said, oh, Abe's not going to do anything, we'll stick him in the back. But he only served 1 year, or 1 term, and then he went on to be president. But this is also called Statutory Hall, and originally this is where they wanted to put all the statues in the
It'll sound like basically what it sounds like.
capital in here, but they didn't take into consideration the weight of the statues and not being able to support, or not being able to support all the weight. The statues weighs between 2 or 3 tons, so it's a lot of weight, and it'd be a little creepy if you walked in the room. He'd come in and
John
lie
Quincy Adams?
Yes, John Quincy Adams. He would lie his head down on the desk, and everyone's like, what's wrong with John? Is he tired, sick, doesn't want to be here? So no one thought John was doing anything, but they couldn't understand how he knew what the opposition was doing, like how he stayed on top of the opposition the whole time. Well, his desk was in great coordinates with the opposition on the other side of the room, and when they'd whisper, the reflection of it echoed, and he could hear the opposition whispering on the other side of the room. So when that frees up over there, we'll demonstrate.
When Reagan was elected president, he said, I'm from California, I'm from the West. I want to face the West. And so they moved the inauguration over here. It wasn't until then, and I don't know why, that they said, man, the view from over here for inauguration is just awesome. And so all the presidents since then have chosen to have their inaugurations over here on the West Front. Now, if you've ever watched an inauguration, or when the next president is elected, you'll be older, you might be more interested. Watch the inauguration. The president, the vice president, all the dignitaries will walk down and out those steps that you just came down. That's where they walk out. And this is the platform here. The platform goes above, sits right on this ledge, and goes way out over that fountain out there, and then down. So they're actually sitting out there over that fountain. You don't even see that during an inauguration, because this is all built up on scaffolding. And this is where they have their inauguration. It's just like the White House doesn't have a front and a back. It has a north lawn and a south lawn. You took your pictures on the north lawn side. The south lawn side is where what we saw from Constitution when I said up there is where the helicopter lands when the president comes in. That's the south lawn. Any questions about anything you saw in there or anything you were wondering about in the house or anywhere else?
That's when we got the new guy.
What new guy? What are you talking? Oh, you got the new guy? I don't know. That was
It wasn't any better anywhere else. No, they were all.
No, I was disappointed in our guy, but at least you got to see him.
No one has to.
And the thing is, they.
Andrew and them don't like him though, but.
Yep. It wasn't too. Oh. Supreme Court first.
We're going.
She asked if we were going to Union Station.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. Hope y'all have a good time too. Good luck with that.
I think that's going to show out.
dome on it is the main building of the Library of Congress. There are actually 3 buildings that make up the Library of Congress. This is the main one. This is the Jefferson Building. And nothing can be checked out of the Library of Congress. Yeah, the Library of Congress basically has every document of any kind that's ever been copyrighted, okay? And they receive over 10,000 documents a day to add to the Library of Congress. So you can go in there and read anything, listen to tapes, watch videos that they have of things in there, but you cannot check anything out. Somebody asked why. Well, they don't want to lose anything, okay? So that's your Library of Congress over here, an absolutely gorgeous building inside. The Gutenberg Bible is in there. Anybody know what the Gutenberg Bible is? First Bible ever printed. And there is a copy .
I think we have some tired kids. Hey guys, wake up. Wake up, guys. We'll compare this footage to the dinner dance cruise. Comparing this footage to the dinner dance cruise last night. Night and day here.
Hi, homie.
It's on YouTube.
Put it on YouTube.
Yeah.
Are we a bit tired this morning?
Psycho Kid.
Hey, are we a bit tired this morning?
Area, you're going to have a long time. There's a lot of neat shops in here, so after you're done eating, walk around, look at all the shops, but please make sure you have 2 or 3 people in the group. Do not go off by yourself.
Don't leave the building.
We're going to meet here at 1:30. 1:30, that's an hour and a half.